Hello, this is the charlatans hotline, otherwise known as the Federal Reserve. Please leave a message and Jerome Powell will f your goat. Beep. Jerome, you need to issue more quantitative easing. $60 billion is not enough. This is Donald Trump, by the way, if you haven't figured it out. Yeah, I'm the guy that keeps calling for you to cut rates. Well, cut rates. I need to be reelected. And by the way, you need to buy at least $120 billion a month, not 60. Have a good day. I want to issue $1.2 trillion, $1.3 trillion. Why make it $5 trillion next year of national debt? Thanks. Bye. Oh, by the way, you don't do it, you're a pig. Oh, my God. You know, Reuters has an article up today that we clearly have more fiscal space. Listen to this. This is very interesting. And it's a prominent mainstream figures like the former International Monetary Fund chief economist Oliver Blanchard have argued that large stable governments should not be reluctant to borrow for socially or economically beneficial projects, i.e. climate change, right? Green New Deal. As long as interest rates remain as they are now below the economy's rate of growth. Now, wait. Interest rates are below the economy's rate of growth. You know, why are we not talking about what that really means? If the economy is expanding at 3% and interest rates are below 3%, then interest rates are actually negative. Why? Because you denominate economic expansion in dollars. Dollars are not an invariant. Duh. We practice economic fraud on a grand scale every single day. And you in the American public lap it up like dogs. And it sucks. I have been writing on this for well over 10 years. I've been raising hell about it privately when I used to run MCSNet. Used to try to educate people on how this stuff worked. Nobody ever wanted to hear it then. At least I tried to arm my employees with some information so they didn't get personally rat-fucked by the charlatans that were running around telling them that they should be buying everything in their brother that they can find on credit. You know, your rate of interest, gee, funny how that doesn't seem to work out so good for you, right? You know, you have gee, we can get a 0% car loan. No, not really. There's a kickback paid to the dealer. All right. And oh, by the way, if you think that really is, is how it works, that you get that's really 0%, you might want to take a look at the actual cash price of the car. Because they kick back in there. Yeah, kickback. Legal. Totally legal. The way it's structured, it's, but they make, folks, car dealers don't make money on selling you cars. They make money in the finance office. And then the second place they make money is in the service department by charging you $1,500 to change brakes when the parts for the brake job are $250. You know, it just never ceases to amaze me the stupidity that comes along with things like this. We are running a $1 trillion deficit. We have a federal government that is running a 25% cash deficit. That is equivalent to you making $40,000 a year and spending $50,000. Why? Well, because you can. Because a credit card company will let you do it. And oh, by the way, they said, well, you use zero interest. So, gee, you should do this. We're going to charge you 2% interest. Well, gee, who among us wouldn't do that on those kinds of terms? Well, you might think that's okay, but what happens if rates ever go up? If they ever go up when you have all that debt? You accumulate 3, 4, 5 times your income in debt, and then all of a sudden rates go up. Oh, no, that'll never happen. Sure it won't. The government right now takes in about $3 trillion a year in taxes. All right. That means that we have about 7 times tax revenues in debt. The way to look at this in terms of national debt is not GDP. It's not in terms of GDP. It's the number of years of tax revenues it would take to clear it. That's the correct measurement. That's the measurement you'd use if why do we continue to have stupid ideas in this country when it comes to this? Why do we let economists like this, so-called economists, get away with this? These people all ought to be strung up. They should be tried and imprisoned. And then when they get done, we'll leave them in there until they die. And then we let the buzzards eat them on the National Mall. And really, folks, if you think about it, all right, what is the proper way to measure this? All right, it's debt to income. Income. Go to buy a house. Go talk to the bank when you want to go buy a house. You want to buy a car. Is the ratio the amount of debt that you have to the total amount of productivity that you produce in the economy in a year? No. Absolutely not. The way you get rated for that loan is debt to income. And guess what? That's the way it ought to be. Is that crazy? No, it's not crazy. DTI to income, a totally reasonable thing. And yet, if we look at that, where are we? Where are we right now? Because, hey, everyone says, oh, well, it's so nice and cheap. Hey, you know what the problem with that is? That assumes that interest rates will always stay low. What happens when they don't? Those bonds come due, but we never pay them off anymore. We just roll them over. When interest rates go up, what happens? You have $20 trillion a year. You have $20 trillion of outstanding debt right now. What happens if the interest rate's 10%? That's $2 trillion. That's 2/3 of the total income that the government gets in a year. Could the government pay that? Of course it could not. Why? Because this year, it looks like, we don't yet have the last month, but it looks like we're going to spend somewhere around 1.3, 1.4 trillion just on Medicare and Medicaid. So, if we have $3 trillion a year of income and we spend approximately 45% of that on Medicare and Medicaid, and then we spend another $700 billion or thereabouts on defense, and another $1 trillion on on Social Security, we seem to be out of money. Oh, wait a minute. There's all sorts of other things. Everyone wants a Green New Deal. They want all kinds of wonderful fiscal ideas. We're going to send everybody, according to Wang, he wants to yank his Wang and ejaculate $1,000 per month per person check into the American person's hands. Where's he going to get the money? He's not. And yet, according to this article in Reuters, next recession, we ought to spend $1.7 trillion in deficit because, $1 trillion, when Obama did it, it just wasn't enough. Folks, we're headed for a cliff. Exactly when do we go off? I've already told you where I think it happens. I think the beginning of this, the edge, where we go off the bottom, and we start going down the hole where it's no longer possible to reasonably make political changes and get something done about it, is in 2024. Why? Because that's when, at current rates of expansion, the Medicare and Medicaid monster eats the budget. I'm your ticker guy, and that's my view.